back. Welcome back. Look, okay, sorting through all of the different changes that we've been seeing on Realignment, the ACC, and other power broker schools within the ACC. So there's a number of things in which way things will go. We already know that the ACC is going to end up like the Pac-12. I already did a video on this about 2 years ago, and about a year and a half ago, before the Pac-12 collapsed, or around that time when it happened. Basically, the ACC about to become a feeding frenzy. Okay, and this is before we get into all the speculation of what teams going where. I want to solidify what the Big 12 must do in this next round of realignment. And Brett already has his eggs counted. Pretty much these funds of this $1 billion potential investment fund, or it could go higher, but all this is making sure that he's ready to go for this next round of realignment. And it's going to solidify the Big 12 as a conference as a whole to continue to grow with college football, okay? Not being left behind because of TV ratings. But Brett Yormark know that he's going to be building this conference from the ground up. And he's already got 2 years of doing that. And the more members he bring in to help with scheduling and branding, he's going to do that. So pay attention to the financial moves that are being made by the Big 12. So with the ACC collapsing, right? Okay, there are about 7 brands that are in the ACC that are worth noting, and then the other brands are, not worth noting. Most of this is calculated by what the brands have accomplished in the last decade. Okay, and yes, TV ratings matter. Now, when you put it all on a spectrum and you're picking and choosing, okay, we know we got Florida State and Clemson at the top. Now, if Florida State and Clemson is not available to the Big 12, the next two is North Carolina and Miami. If with the disadvantages that Miami have by not having its own stadium at home, maybe that may, substitute for the international branding that they have, far as being a good brand. So maybe that may weigh out or cover between the two of them. But when you look at those two teams, okay, if the Big 12 don't have a shot at them, then the next two, okay, this is very important, is and we're not going to talk about Notre Dame because they're not a full member and they make their own decisions and do whatever it is that they're going to do. It will help the Big 12 if Notre Dame go to the Big 10. Okay, that will help the Big 12 because it looks like the conferences that will be left as considered major conferences. I know a lot of people throw the Power 2 around, but I don't see it as a Power 2. The Big 10 just started doing things on the football field in a sense of recently. But I guess they're saying that based off of, ratings. But the point is, Georgia Tech in Louisville are must grabs for the Big 12. Now, we don't know if Alabama will continue their Georgia Tech rivalry game every year if they end up going to the Big 12. But Georgia Tech is definitely a program, as far as football wise, that should be on the list with Louisville. Okay, I hear a lot of people talk about Pitt and the backyard brawl, but Pitt has not been on the radar lately, and the needle is not moved much, it would just be another mediocre team. And we want to save those spots for assured programs that are going to make a mark immediately and can elevate the conference. And Louisville and Georgia Tech can definitely do that. Now, if the Big 12 end up going to 20 teams, then the next two in line should be NC State and Duke. NC State and Duke. Now, I know some of you guys may be like, well, why Duke? Or why should the Big 12 pick up Duke? Because it's no different from the Big 10 or the SEC picking up North Carolina. They are a power basketball program. They have a huge brand, and their football can be improved with the right hires and recruiting. Their football program can be improved. So I would say those four brands the Big 12 must get. And if there was an option to get Pitt or Duke, I would go with Duke, because brand recognition, and they have a power basketball program, and we already know that can complement the Big 12 basketball elegance, as well as help with bringing in certain matchups for their basketball league. So those are my recommendations for the Big 12: Georgia Tech, Louisville, NC State, and Duke. Okay, if they don't have a shot at the top four that I mentioned, Miami, Clemson, Florida State, and North Carolina. Now, when will we see teams leaving? Well, as soon as they can afford the $200 million. So plus they got to give a 2-year notice or 2-year in advance notice. So let's say they take off 30 million off of 200 million, bringing it down to what, 170, 165, whatever that number is. Soon as Florida State, Clemson, Duke, Miami, soon as they get 165, I believe they're leaving. They're not going to wait till 2030. Now, the teams like Louisville and Georgia Tech, those schools may wait because it would be in their best interest to pay a lower amount. But those first four, soon as they can raise 170 million, they're making their announcement, and they'll be gone in the next 2 years, period. Now, where they'll go, we know both. We haven't even talked about Virginia. So if the SEC don't pick up Virginia, I think the Big 12 should pick up Virginia and Virginia Tech. I forgot about Virginia Tech. So there's the Big 12 can wrap up the Virginia market with getting Virginia and Virginia Tech. And, they can also elevate themselves. So they have options. There is options that's out there for the Big 12. If Miami and Florida State go to the SEC, that would be wise on the SEC for wrapping up the Florida market. That way they got Florida State, Miami, and Florida, if they go that route. If not, the Big Ten is going to get both Florida schools. They would like to have Notre Dame, but we know that they would get those schools. Now, what about these programs that are currently in the Big Ten and the SEC that are not performing well but getting a big check? Are they going to be relegated? Are they going to be kicked out of the conference to make room for other brands? But one thing that's not being talked about that everyone must consider is that all of these conferences with all of these programs, they're going to have teams at the bottom. Everyone can't win. Everyone can't be at the top. So there's going to be always teams at the bottom, period. So you ain't gonna be able to get rid of that if you get rid of the other teams that hasn't been performing. I guess they're looking at it as they never performed. But you're gonna always have teams that's at the bottom. It will just be creating a new sort of bottom schools. The good thing about the Big 12 is that they have schools that are all solid, that are kind of balanced and even, and they just have equal programs that are equivalent. Unlike the Big Ten, they got a top heavy with about 4 brands, and the rest is not as good. Same with the SEC, they got about 4 brands and the rest ain't good. So I guess they're trying to do like the Big 12 is doing, kind of like make their league a little bit more solid, where they don't have brands that are not equivalent to their top tier teams. Once again, thank y'all for watching another video of How To with Master Vizay. Until next time, y'all have a great day.